Okay, our timer's wound down. We've passed our 15 minutes. Hopefully you've got a chance to just take a break, get away from the computer, stop thinking about AutoCAD for a minute and get some refreshment. Looks pretty nice out today compared to how it's been. Looking forward to getting out of work. Before the break, we got up to step 4 in our little in our little list. I like a list. I've already told you that, but I've uploaded this to the material area of AutoCAD of the go-to training. So feel free to download that if this helps. One of my initial videos that I put on YouTube was this, what you have right here, how to get ready to print. A lot of my students, in the 4-day class, there's so much information. You go through so much, and sometimes you just hit a saturation point before the day's over. It's like, oh my God, dude, you're never going to stop talking. And they check out like at 2:30 or whatever, and not on purpose, but it's just, it's just hard to listen to a topic for, that many hours. So this video is fairly important, or this topic is fairly important, so I did make a video of it so you could access it again anytime you want to. I'm going to close the shade a little bit. The sun's bouncing off someone's bumper. I'm going to close that up. So we're up to step 4. We'll get into step 5, and which is to sort of configure your layout page with a page setup manager. So this is going to seem a little uncomfortable at first, but maybe it won't. But I kind of like to do steps 1 through 4 immediately following inserting the window and door block, because it's inserting a block. We inserted the border, and that kind of comes right off. Look how many things I have open. We inserted our block from page 36. Now what I'd like to do is to jump ahead to page 42. It's a little bit of a jump, but it'll make sense, I think, once we get through this portion of it. Page 42 and 43 talk about getting your drawing ready to print, getting the paper to fit your border and things like that. And then we'll flip to page 44 and we'll bring back the viewport that I asked you to delete in the earlier session and in the early, a couple minutes ago. So page 42, and really the document the Word document that I just uploaded to the materials area, it matches pretty closely to the steps on page 43. Switch to layout space. Insert here it's called CMI, but it's actually CAD now. Border, launch page setup manager. So that's what we're about to do. The page setup manager, according to, it may not tell you here, well it does right here, it says right here, on the layout tab, layout panel, page setup. And it says the same thing here. Item 5, configure layout page with page setup manager. Launch page setup manager from the layout panel on the layout tab. All right, I'll do that, and you can do it too. I'm on the insert tab right now, where I inserted the border. For me, the second tab from the right is layout. It might be the rightmost tab for you. I have this M files tab. You may not have that, but if I click the layout tab is another context sensitive ribbon tab. It doesn't display itself until it's until we're in model and out of model space. I'm in model space now. I'll go to layout, and you can't see the layout tab. I go to my layout space. There's the layout tab right there. I'll click layout. So I don't want to create from the layout panel, I don't want to create a new page setup or a new layout. That's actually new layout. I do want to create a new page setup. So I'm going to click page setup, the second button from the left. I'll left click that. And that's the dialog box that we see on page 42, the page setup manager. So if I were a CAD manager, I would create a number of page setups for my team, 8.5 by 11, 11 by 17, whatever. But in this case, let's say we all work as independents. We need to create our own page setup. So we'll start by clicking New. Left click New. And it says New Page Setup. What's the page setup going to be called? I personally like to call my page setups something like this: 11x17 PDF. That way, if I share this drawing with somebody else and they click print, they know what they're going to get. It just spells it right out for them. New page setup name is 11x17 PDF. Then I've got to click, so I don't really have to click anything in the Start With window. It really doesn't matter, but if I had an 8.5 by 11 PDF, I would click on that and start formatting my page, but there's nothing here that's going to help me save steps. So I'll just hit OK, and you can too. We'll hit OK. This is a dialog box we see on page 43. It's a carbon copy of the plot dialog box or print dialog box, which is kind of apropos. You know, if you're going to print, you should go through the steps of printing. We're not going to print, but we're going to get this thing ready to print. So step one is to choose the correct printer plotter. The printer plotter we're looking for is DWG to PDF PC3. So if I open up this list, it's fairly lengthy in my computer. It might be lengthy in yours as well if you're at your office or whatever. I'm looking at the very bottom of the list. I'm looking for a printer plotter called DWG to PDF PC3. DWG to PDF PC3. The drawing file that I'm working in is a DWG file. I want to output it to PDF because you can email a PDF to anybody on the planet and they can open it and view it. PC3 is plotter configuration file 3rd generation. That's some boring stuff, but that's some alphabet soup. I wanted to explain it for you. Pardon me. So next, we'll choose the paper size. I'm going to open up this list, and the downside to a PDF plotter or PDF printer is there's no limit to the number of paper sizes you can associate with it. So when I open up the paper size list, there could be, I don't even know, it could be 50 paper sizes here. But the one that I want is near the bottom, pardon me. There we go. I'm going to grab the scroll bar, pull it all the way to the bottom, and then I'll count up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I want to use ANSI Expand B 11 by 17. So 7 from the bottom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. ANSI Expand B 11 by 17. I'm going to select that. And if there were any issues with my border fitting on the paper, I would see some red bars right here. But right now I don't see any. So I've chosen the printer, chosen the paper to print on. I'm going to choose my plot area. Layout is everything here in layout 1. I don't want that. I want extents. I'm going to open up extents, and the border equals the extents now. When you bring something big into, anything into a blank environment, and the layout 1 was kind of blank, whatever that thing is, it redefines the extents, and that's the border. So I'll left click extents. Once we choose extents, center the plot becomes an active option. We'll select center the plot, and then we'll click preview. Preview. So the preview looks pretty good for me. I've got even white space on my margin all the way around, the border centered, it fits on the paper. I'm going to hit exit to exit the preview. If you find yours does not fit properly, I'm going to hit X. Then check the paper size. The paper size wants to be ANSI Expand B. There's several ANSI B, and there's a few ANSI Expand B. The Expand is a very narrow margin that allows you to print more. You have more printable area than just regular ANSI B. So we touched a lot of the stuff on the left side of the dialog box. Moving to the right, I'm going to ignore plot scale. I want to leave the scale at 1:1. And then finally, we're going to choose a plot style table. Right? Say I don't want all my green lines and yellow lines and orange lines to print green, yellow, and orange. I want them to print black. I'm going to choose a plot style table. And the plot style tables that we see here, they all came with, well, for the most part, most of them came with AutoCAD. The one that I want is called monochrome. Monochrome. We'll select that. And that just says, you know, the color red prints black, and the color yellow prints black. And with that selected, we'll click display plot styles. And what that means is all my green lines, all my yellow lines, all my orange lines will just be black when I'm in layout space. It'll make it very easy to see. Some of the colors that I've chosen for the drawing in model space are lighter in nature because the background color of AutoCAD's model space is black. So lighter colors stand out better on a black background, but very poorly on a white background. So anyways, what we've done, we've chosen a printer, chosen what paper to print on, what part of the drawing environment are we printing, extents, centered that plot, previewed it, left the plot scale at 1:1, chosen the monochrome plot style table, and put a check mark in the display plot styles. And that is enough to get us ready to plot, or at least the border will be ready to print or plot. When you're ready, you can hit OK, and that will take you out of your page setup manager. In the background, the border still doesn't fit the paper. To this point, we've only created a new page setup. To attach it to this layout, we have to click the Set Current button. Set Current. And there it is. Now my paper is snapped to the border. And we can click Close. And good time to hit Save. Save. Okay. Questions on any of that? Again, that little getting ready to print, I've uploaded it to the materials area. If you're a list person like I am, you can download that and have it. It's nice to have it in the live Word form because then you can edit it if you need to. All right, step 7 is our last step. We're going to open the viewport, center the drawing, and apply a drawing scale. It says left click on paper model toggle located right of center on the application status bar. So that's here. I'm going to flip the page from page 42 to page 44, and it shows us again, it's the layout tab of the ribbon, but instead of the layout panel, it's the layout viewports panel. We're going to create a rectangular viewport to hold our drawing. So I'll do this in AutoCAD. Right, still in the layout tab. It's the layout viewports panel. We'll click rectangular, left click rectangular, and it's just like using the rectangle tool that creates a polyline, but this creates a viewport. We'll go rectangular, left click the upper left corner of the border, left click the lower right corner of the border, and the drawing comes back, black and white. So that's kind of why we asked you to delete the original viewport so you can create a new one just to get a feel for what it's like to create a viewport. Again, good time to save the drawing. I'm going to get a little bit maniacal with my saving, but it's not a bad thing to do. Okay, so questions on creating the viewport? Questions at all? Cool. Okay. So this part is different than a lot of AutoCAD because it's not drawing. Cool, nice. All right, you guys are easy. I'm going to open this viewport. I think it even says that in this. It says open viewport center drawing. So left click on paper model toggle located right of center on the application status bar. That's this guy right here on the status bar. The word paper is showing. It kind of vaguely indicates I've got a viewport here, but it's closed. Now if I click the word paper, some text comes into view in the upper left corner of the viewport. The view cube is visible. My nav bar is visible. I can pan, I can zoom, I can do whatever I want to my viewport. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, if this were not centered, I would double click the mouse wheel and that would center me. And at this point, the grid is actually making my drawing look very busy. So I'm going to left click the grid on the status bar, grid display. I want to turn that off. Now, moving my eyes right on the status bar, there's a strange number. For me it says 0.025962 or something like that. That is the current scale of the viewport, which is not an industry recognized scale. What I'll do is I'll click on that number and that'll give me a menu, and the menu will allow me to pick a scale. Let's try 1/8 inch. It's way too small. Let's go 1/4 inch. Yeah, let's cut that in half. Let's go 1/2 inch. 1/2 inch too big. Let's go 3/8. Too big. Got to be 1/4 inch. 1/4 inch. Sometimes when you get assigned a drawing to work on, the engineer, the architect, the boss, whomever will say, hey, look, create me a drawing. I want it to be 1/8 scale, or I want it to be 1/4 scale. Other times, you're not told what scale to create your drawing at, so you can experiment like I did just here, and set your drawing up so it fits as good as possible. This leaves me enough room at the top for dimensions, room at the bottom for dimensions. I got plenty of room on the side for dimensions and so forth. I'm not unhappy with this. I'm going to click the lock icon, the lock on the status bar left of my viewport scale, and what that lock does is it locks the viewport scale. Lock. Now if I pan or zoom, the drawing doesn't move within the border, the drawing moves with the border. That way I'm not changing the scale or whatever, and I'm happy with that. To close, I don't really need to close the viewport like I did, or like when it was open, but I'll just left click the word paper, and that will close the viewport. I no longer can edit the viewport. I can edit the border if I need to. I could go ahead and double click on the scale. I could change the scale if the scale were wrong. The scale's not wrong. I could change the date. Like I'll double click on 00-00-01. I'll just double click on that. I just didn't quite get it. Double click on it. There we go. And so I'll edit this to say today's date, which is 5/14. So go 05. What are they using? Hyphens? Yeah, hyphens. Hyphen 14 hyphen 19, enter, and that actually paged me down to the drawn by, the triple X there, and I can put in my initials, DRM. I can even put in my whole name. I can backspace it and type in Daron, enter, more. You know, you won't always be able to put your whole name in these things, and you know, tradition is it's just your initials. So DRM, RM. There we go. I'll hit OK. So editing the border, these attributed borders, is just a simple double click, gets you into this dialog box. All right. So the viewport is scaled. It's 1/4 inch equals a foot. The border is filled out. You can see the drawing. We can go ahead and move forward unless there's any questions, and I'm going to hit save. And actually, moving forward in this case means moving backward, which is kind of weird, but I'm going to bring up the PowerPoint. Day 2, part 2, we talked about our measure commands. We talked about blocks, and then text formatting. I skipped text formatting because I wanted to prepare the drawing for plotting and create and scale the viewport. So creating and scaling the viewport is kind of crucial to helping us determine the scale. Scale impacts the height of our text. So I kind of mentioned in terms of the windows and the doors that it's handy to have these windows and doors be blocks that we can insert over and over again because they should look the same all the time. And the same is true for text. If you're putting text in your drawing, if I'm putting like my shelf and pole text that we saw earlier on my drawing, that text should have a certain height, usually 1/8 of an inch or 3/32 of an inch or somewhere in that neighborhood. If I've got text that says shelf and pole in one part of my drawing that's 3/32 of an inch high when I plot it, then everywhere I use that text, it should be 3/32 of an inch high. Otherwise, anyone reading my drawing can say, hey, what are you trying to say? Why is this a different height? So it kind of allows you to create a uniformity in your drawing. So we'll create 3 textiles in this drawing, one for the dimension, one for notes, and one for the room name. And I'm going to do this from model space. I'll click on the model tab. There we go. So in the model tab, I'm backtracking now to page 338, formatting text. There's a little dialog box that we need to get into to format the text. And the way we access it, I'm going to zoom in, is we'll go to the Home tab of the ribbon. We'll expand the annotation panel, and we'll click on this button here, this little A with a paintbrush in the annotation panel. I'm going to grab, oops, didn't want to do that, Control Z, Control C. I'm going to copy the little blurb on the text sizes. All right, so I'm not going to create all 4 of these textiles. You can if you want to. I'm not going. I'm going to create 3 of them. I don't even like the idea of creating that many textiles, but here's what it looks like. We'll create one textile called dims. I'm going to work backwards. Number 4 is dims. That textile will be for the dimensions. Then we'll create a textile called notes. That textile will be 6 inches high, and any of our notes will be written with notes. And we'll just do like shelf and pole. And then we'll create a textile called room name, and we'll put like master bedroom with that. So this cheat sheet that I mentioned earlier, this cheat sheet helps us size our text. If you know that your drawing is going to be printing out at a scale of 1/4 inch equals a foot, then we've got 2 columns here. One column is for 1/8 inch high text. Let's say I'm not going to use 1/8 inch high text. I want a little bit tighter text height. I'm going to use 3/32 of an inch high text. So in order to make my text look like it's 3/32 of an inch high, when I print it at a scale of 1/4 inch equals a foot, I've got to make my text 4.5 inches tall in model space. So that's kind of why I create the viewport first. Basically, if you take 12 and divide it by 0.25, you get 48. If you multiply 3/32, which I don't know if I go down here, let me hit escape. All right, 3/32 is right there, 0.09375. If you divide 12 by you multiply 48 times 0.09375, you get 4.5 or 4.5 inches. So this chart helps us size our text so we can create a predictable size every time. Let me erase all that stuff. So this should be in the materials area too, where you can download that. All right, so I'm on the Home tab of the ribbon, expanding the annotation panel. Going to click the A with a paintbrush, that leftmost button at the top of the panel, left click. There will be a couple textiles already in here. Annotative and standard are just part of the template. They come with it, so we don't have to create all the text all the time. There's a couple pieces of text sitting there for us. Title block bold and title block regular came in when we inserted the title block. But none of these are really the textile I want to use for my drawing. So I'm going to go ahead and click New, and I'll create the dims textile that we see here in item 4. So left click New, new style name, I'll call it dims, hit OK, and I'm going to change the font. Right now, if you can see this window, this font shows it's not a very professional looking font. It's very sort of square, and I don't know how to describe it. It's terrible. I'm going to use a font called Romanesque or Romans. I'll open up the list and type in ROM as fast as I can, and there's a lot of Roman based styles. Romanesque is the one I'm going to click on. Romanesque, Romans, and I'm going to leave the height at 0, but I'll change the width factor. As we see in notes, I'll change the width factor to 0.8. 0.8. It's a little weird. I'm going to hit apply on that. Apply. It's a little weird to create a textile that is 0 inches high, but this textile, we're going to use this for our dimension object. We have a whole separate dialog box for creating dimensions. In that dialog box, we can pick a piece of text like dims, and if we give it a height of 0 here, we can size it in the dimension dialog box. But somehow AutoCAD seems to prefer that over us giving it a height here. So that's kind of, we got to bend to AutoCAD's will. So our first style, dims, is Romanesque, height of 0, width factor of 0.8. I already hit apply, so I've saved that change. I've applied that change. I'll hit new. This will be notes, N-O-T-E-S, notes. I'll hit OK. Going to keep the font the same so there's some uniformity between my notes and my dimensions, but instead of 0, I'm going to make my text height 4.5, 4.5. In this little blurb right here that I pasted, this is from the 4-day version of the class, and in that class the scale is 3/16 of an inch equals 1 foot. So there's more drawing in that viewport. So we had to use a different scale. It's 3/16. So you can, if you want to, you can sort of cross out some of these heights and just write in, please refer to the AutoCAD scale factor cheat sheet. Whoops, let me escape out of that. That's this guy here. This cheat sheet helped us size our text. So back in AutoCAD, notes, Romans 4.5, width factor 0.8, probably less crucial with a smaller text object. It could stay at a larger size, but I'm going to, like a width factor of 1, but I'm going to leave it at 0.8. I'll apply, that saved the change. Now we're going to create a textile called room name. We'll go new, room name. We're going to use Arial as the font because it's nice and bold. You use the drop down, go AR, and get you close to your Arials. And room names are a proper name in AutoCAD drawing. Room names, river names, road names, drawing titles. All those pieces of text are twice as tall as our notes. So once we know our notes are 4.5 inches tall, we'll make our room name 9 inches tall. I'm going to swipe over 4.5, type the number 9, leave the width factor at 0.8, and hit apply. This is all stuff that I'd want to be part of my template. I don't want to stop and create text. I don't want to stop and create layers. I don't want to stop and change units. I want all this stuff to be part of my template. Okay. Questions on any of that? Questions at all? Okay. You guys are too easy. I love it. I'm going to hit close. I'm going to close this dialog box. Close. I'll get rid of the little pasted OLE, and we'll start by changing layers. So the last layer that I used was ANOTTLB, the title block layer. Now I'm going to change to ANO Note, the note layer. Left click Note. Now, there are 2 text tools in AutoCAD. I don't know if the book specifies one or the other. I do have a preference. The book does kind of say the multi-line text. That's what this ribbon tab is. I like multi-line text only because it's a lot like Microsoft Word. Multi-line text or M-text, it has a lot of features to it. On the annotation panel, on the Home tab, that's this guy here. You've got these 2 text tools. If I use the drop down where it says text, there's multi-line and single line. I'm going to use multi-line. Left click multi-line, and then I'll move my mouse into the drawing window. Again, I want to see my command prompt, and the command prompt says specify first corner. So multi-line text wants me to create a window to hold my text. So if I left click, that's the first corner of my multi-line text window, and I'll left click somewhere else. That'll be the second corner. Left click. Once you make your second left click, you're now in text editing mode. You've got all these tools here that are like Microsoft Word, maybe not exactly. One of the tools I'm going to use is justification. I'm going to open up the justification, choose middle center. It always reverts back to middle left, or middle left, top left. I think it's top left. I'm going to type in master enter bedroom. and I'll left click on the close text editor on the ribbon tab, the little checkbox. Now, it used the bedroom or the room name text because that's the last style that we created, and that was the current style. So that was appropriate to put, you know, master bedroom there. But if I want to use some different text, you know, I got to change my text style. That's not what I want. Let me close that. Yeah. So this dialog, or this the annotation expansion panel here, where we opened up and we got into the textile editor, in that same location we can open up that window, click on the window that currently says notes, but it'll say room name in our drawing, and choose notes. So it'll look like this. Opening up the annotation panel, I gotta get rid of that highlight, it's blocking us. Erase. Right. Open the annotation panel, and then here's the current text style. Text style is room name. I'm done with room name. I want to use notes. I open up room name, and I click, whoops, missed it. Click notes. Now notes is my current text style. Once I've changed styles, everything else is the same. I'll sort of zoom in on my shelf, and I'll start my multi-line text. And this time I'll object snap to like the end of my shelf, corner of the closet, middle center justify. I'll just type in shelf and pole. Left click close text editor. So that's one. I'll do one more. I'll go multi-line text, corner of the closet, end of the shelf, middle center justify. You see it always keeps going back to top left, shelf and pole. So that's placing text in a floor plan or in a plan. Wouldn't be much different in a site plan. Good time to hit save. Yeah, I think so too. You know, once Tara says nice, I think it is too. It really starts to add a finished look. Your drawing starts to take on this really finished look. That multi-line text. If I go back to multi-line text, yeah, thanks, Tara. That's it is kind of a, yeah. You can really part of it is the scale, because it's nice and small, nice and tight. If we had to use a scale like 1/8 inch or smaller, it would be bigger text. It would be a little less clean, you know, but it'd be a little more crowded. But what did I want to tell you? I want to tell you that you have a lot of features in that multi-line text tool. You know, I'll just show you this. I'm going to click multi-line text, and I'll make a little window to hold my text off to the right. And so you've got style, a style panel that allows you to change your text style. If I didn't want to use notes, I could change that now. I could actually change the height if I want to. I could match properties with my text. If I had text that was not the right height or whatever, I could match properties. Change the font, change what color it uses, change justification. I can do some paragraph formatting where this little arrow is the same arrow that we use to get into properties outside of the text editor. This gets me into I'll click on this. It gets me into a paragraph formatter where I can choose tabs and indents, paragraph alignment. My favorite thing is right here. I'm going to choose paragraph spacing. I'll go paragraph spacing. I check that box and it turns on paragraph spacing. Now I want to change my height or my spacing before and after to be 4.5 inches to match my text. So if I swipe over the 0 and go 4.5 and I left click in the other window, it tells me I can't do it. It's like, no, you can't go 4.5. The highest you can go is 4. The smallest you can go is 0.25. I'm like, okay, well, thanks for telling me. So now I'll take it to 4. And I'll click in the other window and I'll backspace and I'll use 4. It's close enough. You won't even be able to tell. And then I'll hit OK. All right, so what do I do with this? I'm going to type general notes with a colon. Oops, that was an enter. Colon. There we go. And then enter. And that's, you see when my cursor's flashing, it's like 8 inches down the paragraph. Now I'm going to enable bullets and numbering. Open this up. I'll go lettered, uppercase. All right, gives me an A, period, space, space. I'll just go, you know, all Windows. I don't type very well. Like holy Toledo. Let me zoom in. Windows 3 feet dash 0 inches wide. I'll open that up a little bit. Better. Enter. Now there's my second bullet. B. All doors 2 feet dash 6 inches wide. I need to put a space right there. Enter. All doors to be placed with 6 inches between hinged side of door and nearest wall. Boom, done. So I don't know if I can legally say this, but this is, I use Microsoft Word for word processing, and this is a lot like, it's a very comfortable feel. It's very similar to Microsoft Word. I'll left click away from this, and multi-line text, this is one object. If I click on this thing, I can drag it over here, drag it over there. I probably shouldn't do too much of that. I'm going to crash my computer. There we go, but it's one object. I'll hit save, and that's text formatting and text placement. Questions on any of that? Questions at all? Okay. All right. Whoops. Another video just finished processing. Okay, I'm just closing that. I'm going to close out of that tab so it doesn't start playing, but in the background it'll be a little bit confusing. So let's do, I think we've got 2 more topics. We'll go back to the book. We've finished text formatting and text placement. We'll go to dimension formatting, dimension placement, and that is on page 44. Page 40, no, page 40, 41. Page 40, 41. Talks about dimension formatting. So this is fairly similar to how we started text formatting. We'll format our dimensions in a similar fashion from a similar location. I'll zoom in, and I'm going to expand the annotation panel, and this time I'll click the second button from the top, the dimension style button. So I'll go back to AutoCAD, opening up the annotation expansion panel. Second button from the top on the left is dimension style. We'll left click that. Puts us into the dimension style manager where we have what appear to be 3 styles: annotative, standard, and style overrides. Well, I don't want to use style overrides. I'm not even sure what they are. I'm going to lose them when I set a new style current, but that's not a big deal. To get started, I'm going to select or click standard, and then we'll click new. Sorry, I'm a little tired. I'm going to close that for now. Don't close yours. I'm going to paste the little step-by-step, like the little directions we want to use. There we go. So these are the guidelines that we're going to use here. And I'll go back into dimension style, left-click standard, left-click new, and we'll just call this dim 1_4. Dim, like dim 1/4. We'll hit OK. And again, we're going to have a little disconnect with the book because 64 is the scale factor for 3/16 of an inch equals 1 foot. We're using 1/4 inch, so our scale factor is going to be 48 from the cheat sheet. So 4, 8. Ugh, geez. But all right, so when you open up this dialog box the first time, when you go to Dimension Style Manager and you click New, puts you into your New Dimension Style dialog box, and the very first time it drops you off on the Lines tab. So I have to cancel this. Don't cancel yours. I gotta get this out of my way. Standard New Dim 1_4. Okay. All right. So on the Lines tab, we've got two things that we can change in the extension lines area. Not things that we can change, but really we don't need to change everything. There's some pretty good raw material here, but many of these things are just kind of large. They're a little too large for the kind of drawings that we're working on. Your extend beyond dim lines we're going to take to 1/16. So here's the extension lines area, bottom part of the dialog box. Extend beyond dim lines is currently 3/16. We'll knock it down to 1/16. So go 1, 2. Then the offset origin should be 1/16. It defaults to 1/16, so we don't have to change that. So we only have to change one thing on the Lines tab. So the Lines tab, that part is done. Check. We'll go Symbols and Arrows. This says to use architectural ticks. This is kind of an architectural drawing. It's walls, doors, and windows. But you're both sort of in an engineer's role, piping design or sprinkler head layout for sprinkler systems, civil engineering. Those two types of industries will use closed-filled arrowheads. So let's not change the arrowheads. We'll leave them as closed-filled. But the height is a little bit big. 3/16 for your arrowheads is going to be too big. So we'll hit the down arrow twice, once, twice, and now we've got 1/16 inch high arrowheads. You may find when you start creating drawings that this is too small and you may want to go a little bit larger. I would go as high as maybe 1/8. I wouldn't go much higher than 1/8. If your text height is 3/32, I would use 3/32. The only reason we use 1/16 here is because if you come to the 4-day version of the class, and if you put in all the dimensions, it would be really crowded if you didn't make them as small as they are here at 1/16. So we try to sort of keep it from looking like a mess. Doesn't always work. So symbols and arrows, closed fill for the first, closed fill for the second, leader is closed filled, arrow size is 1/16. That's it for that tab. We'll go to the text tab, and on the text tab we'll choose the DIMS textile. So open up where standard is. Standard doesn't look bad here, but it will look bad when you use it. It's not a good textile. We'll click DIMS, make the height 1/16. So we'll go once, twice down with your arrow, and we're good to go there. Change your text alignment to align with dimension line. So vertical dimensions will stand up and they'll not take as much room as if they were horizontal in a horizontal arrangement. And then we'll go to the Fit tab. The Fit tab, we're going to use overall scale of, in this area here, scale for dimensions, we'll use the 48 scale from the cheat sheet. This time don't use the arrows, it'll take you forever to get up there. So just use overall scale of 48. All right, so all these 1/16 of an inch high things will become 48 times larger, or they'll be, I don't know the math, but they would be nearly as big as your text. Primary units, change your primary unit format from decimal to architectural, and the precision is already set to 1/16. That's it. So there was, there's a lot of stuff. We stopped at the primary units tab. If you need to create metric units, you can check the display alternate units and add metric units. Or if you're doing machine parts and need to show tolerances, you can do your tolerances. But really, most AutoCAD users will stop on the primary units tab, and they might change their unit structure to be architectural, and that's about it. At that point, we don't really need to do too much else. If you start placing your dimensions and you decide you don't like them, you can come back to this dialog box, make changes, and they'll change your existing dimensions already because they are style-based. All right. Questions on creating the dimension style? Questions at all? See, so this is preferences. This is not, so Terrence just said, so is this all preferences or is this code set in stone? It's more preference than code set in stone. The code, like if you follow like the national CAD standard, which is the one that I'm most familiar with, it doesn't give you a lot of, hey, make your dimension this big, make your text that big. It says things like, well, your dimension should be like 3/16 of an inch off of the dimensioned area. It's the standard. It's nice to have a standard, but I think it should govern more things. National CAD standard will govern things like the layer naming convention and actually file naming convention and things like that. So it is kind of preferences, not set in stone. Other questions? It's a good question. All right, I'm going to hit OK. When I hit OK, I'm going to get a dialog box, an AutoCAD alert telling me I'm going to lose my style overrides. I don't really care about that. I didn't put any work into them. I'll hit OK. Here it is. Setting another style current will discard your style overrides. Do you want to continue? I do. I'll say OK. And there we have it. So now my current dimension style is dim 1, like 1_4. I'd really rather call that dim 1/4 of an inch equals 1 foot 0 inches. But the naming dialog box does not allow you to put inch marks and forward slashes and all that stuff. So I'm improvising here. We'll close this dialog box. I'm going to get rid of the little blurb on the side there. Zoom extents. Pull the pin. I'll change layers to ANO dims and then save the drawing. Save. So in saving the drawing, in the event that AutoCAD crashes, I don't have to recreate that dimension style. So you've got, where am I going? I'm just trying to get centered up here. It's weird being on camera. You probably don't care if I'm there or not, but you've got a couple tools on the annotation panel on the Home tab of the ribbon. But if you go to the Annotate tab of the ribbon and the Dimension panel, you've got every dimension tool known to an AutoCAD user. And I really only want to use 2 tools. I want to use Linear, and that one actually exists on the Home tab. I want to use Linear to start, and I want to use Continue to continue. So Continue does not exist on the Home tab. All right, so here's how it looks. I'm going to start at the top. I'll dimension the close things first, and then I'll dimension the larger spread out things second. So it looks like this. I'll go Linear. Using my object snap, I'll left click the upper right corner of the master bedroom, left click. Using the midpoint object snap, I'll snap to the midpoint of the window, left click, and I'll pull that dimension away until I'm about a foot away. I'm eyeballing it, left click. There's the first dimension. Now I could do them all with Linear, but I don't have to. I'll use Continue. Continue picks right up where I left off. I'll go to the next midpoint, left click, endpoint, left click, hit Escape. So I'm using Linear first, and then Continue second. That's a 2, if you can't tell. So usually the first string, these are called strings or chains of dimensions. The first string measures the close-in features, like the distance between windows, the distance from the edge of the wall to the window. The next dimension, the next string, does an overall, or the next wider spread apart features. So I'll go Linear, endpoint, upper left endpoint of the wall, upper right endpoint of the wall. I'll move up the screen, left click, and there's my second string. It's only one dimension, but it's a separate string. Now I'll go down the left side. So this Linear is very functional. It's Linear horizontal and it's Linear vertical. So I'll go Linear, left click the upper left corner of the wall, left click the corner of the wall before you get to the door, move to the left about a foot, left click, and then Continue. Continue, opposite corner of the door opening, bottom of the floor plan, bottom left corner. So I got that stupid UCS icon again. I'll hover over the wall line, left click, and escape. So again, it's not going to let me deselect the UCS icon, so I'll do a Control A and then a right click, deselect all. It's a pain in my butt. I'll hit save. So I did my first string of dimensions close to the building. Second string will be the overall. Right, there's my second string. I'll click linear, endpoint of the wall, midpoint of the window, pull all the way about a foot, continue. Midpoint of the window, midpoint of the next window, endpoint of the wall, escape. Now, I could do an overall dimension on the right side, but typically the engineers that I've worked with, they do not want to see repetitive dimensions. So they're not going to want to see 31'7" on the left side, 31'7" on the right side. So I'm going to leave it off the right side. They wouldn't want to see 16'6", 3 feet, 10 feet, 6, and all that stuff on the bottom either. But you know, somebody might want to know. They might not need to know the overall dimension, but the close-in stuff. Are these really symmetrical? So I'll add the bottom dimensions. Linear, left-click endpoint. Just trying to get away from. There we go. The UCS icon. I'll pull down about a foot. Left-click continue, and I'll go midpoint, endpoint, escape, like so. So those are the dimensions that we're placing there. I'm going to hit save. All right. Questions on dimensioning, questions at all. It's kind of nice that they're not quite automatic, they're almost automatic, and that you got to place them where they go, but they fill in the values themselves. Yeah, I agree, Terrence. Just glad you have to draw the lines in. We used to, and when you did it on a drafting table, you draw, you know, all that would be all hand drawn. You have to write the numbers in and all that stuff. And you know, maybe your dad did that back when before he started using AutoCAD. He probably got really good at it. Yeah. And I tell you what, the people who are good at it, there was almost like artwork when you saw someone a hand drawn floor plan, site plan, elevation, a detail. I mean, I could look at them all day. But it takes all day to create one or create half of one. So that's cool. It's very awesome. I'm going to get rid of the highlights here. Erase all the highlighter stuff. I'm going to save the drawing. And questions on dimensioning. Questions at all. Okay. Right out. So I'm going to switch back into the PowerPoint. We'll move forward. So we captured the measure commands, inserting blocks, text formatting, dimension formatting. We've already prepared the drawing for plotting. We've created and scaled the viewport, and now we'll talk about plotting. We'll plot it, really plotting this drawing or printing. I would personally call it printing more frequently than calling it plotting. Though you can't gauge that by how often I've said plot today. Plotting your drawing occurs on page 46. Page 46 is plotting. And again, I say this all the time, I don't think we need to have 2 pages of information that talks about how to plot your drawing. It's once you've done all the page setup, that's the hard part. The easy part is just hitting plot or print. So I'm going to come into AutoCAD, and I'm in the working environment right now. I don't really want to print from here because I won't be to scale, and I'm going to have to. I don't have a border. So if I go to my layout 1, I'll go to layout 1. This drawing is set to print or plot. I can see my dimensions. I can see my text, my general notes. All this stuff is there. I can see my border. One thing I might do I might rename layout 1. Right now, layout 1 doesn't really tell anybody anything. If I print this drawing and it says, if I printed the PDF, what'll happen is AutoCAD will name the file, the PDF file, after the drawing name and after the layout tab. So it'll be residential layout 1. So for this one, if I right click over layout 1 and I'll rename it to master bedroom. That way when somebody looks at this PDF without even opening it, they know what it is. Right? So it'll be residential master bedroom. I'll hit save on that. And I might even delete, if I'm not going to do a second layout, I could right click over layout 2 and delete that. If I don't need it, I'll just get rid of it. And I'll save the drawing. Finally, on the quick access toolbar, I'll click the print icon. Left click print or plot. Tooltips is plot. I'll click plot. And this puts you back in the exact same dialog box you saw earlier, and all the settings that we configured, pardon me, during page setup are present. All I really want to do here is click preview. I'll go preview. If anything's missing, if anything looks weird, I can cancel the print, the plot, and go back. If any of my text is, crowded or whatever, I can fix that. So I'm pretty happy with the way things look here. I'm going to hit the X to come out of my preview, and then I'll hit OK. I'll just click OK. And when I do that, AutoCAD says, well, where do you want to save this and what do you want to call it? So I'm going to double click on my AutoCAD 2019 Level 1 folder. I'll accept the name, residential master bedroom.pdf. Now I'll click save. And then it will, if you plotted the PDF or printed the PDF, it'll show you a preview. It'll open up your PDF viewer so you can see that that PDF. All right, let me come back to the AutoCAD. Not let me in. Now I'm back. So I'm going to hit this. You'll see this down here. This is a very comforting little bubble in the bottom right corner. Plot and publish job complete. No errors or warnings found. Well, I don't really need to know that because I saw the PDF pop up, but it is nice to know that, when we can be told that. Okay. Questions on printing or plotting? Questions at all? Okay. All right, one more topic. One more. Let's flip the page. Page 48. Templates. I don't know if you counted the number of times I said the T word in class, templates. Like, look, I don't want to format textiles or layers or even print settings. There's a lot of things we put into this this drawing that I don't want to have to redo. I want to be able to recapture as much of this as possible. So the strategy here is to take this drawing and save it as a template. And the graphics on page 48, I apologize, are wrong. Someone used the wrong graphic here. It was probably me. I'm not going to lie to you. But I'm going to highlight, instead of going to the application menu and going to print, you'll go to save as, and then it's going to be save as template. So I'll show you what it looks like in AutoCAD. Let me hit escape. All right, so I want to save this drawing as a template. First, I'll just save it, just to make sure that the drawing is saved. If I'm going to save this as a template, I'm going to, I'll edit out the border. I'll double click on the border and I'll just edit everything out to make it all generic, like a bunch of X's. I'm not going to do that right now. I would probably even erase the drawing file or the drawing line work to have a nice blank drawing. But because I type so painfully slow, I would keep my general notes there so I could add to them or remove from them. All right, so with that done, save. And the method of creating a template or turning any drawing into a template looks like this. Application menu, hover over save as. You can click, but it's better to hover. Hover over save as, and then choose drawing template. Drawing template. And what it will do is it will open up this save drawing as dialog box. Look into your template folder, and you can give this whatever name you want. Like, I wouldn't overwrite any of the ones that are here. Like for me, my company name is CADD. And I'll go CADD template, or Blackwell template, or Brown template. I forgot the name of the piping company, the fire protection company. But whatever, or even like when I used to work for an engineering firm, so small, VSC template, like perfect. And okay, one other thing, I might do this too. I might go to the front of the name, underscore 001 underscore, something like that. That'll just take my template to the top of the list, so I don't have to sort through this 10 or 12 templates. I'm looking at mine first. I'll go ahead and click save, and then it opens up this, do you want to describe this template? I was like, I don't really need to, but I'll say this is a template for new projects. The description is never for you and I. It's if we share, excuse me, if we share this drawing with somebody else, the description is for them. And once I complete filling out that template options dialog box, I'm no longer in my project drawing. I'm now in the template file, and that's it. So just to kind of round trip this, I'm going to close out of the template file, and now I'm back to sort of square one, back to the Start tab. When I go to start a new drawing, I'll do this. I'll click New, and it brings up this Create New Drawing dialog box. I'll click the third option from the left, second option from the right, and here's my template right at the top, underscore 001 CAD template.dwt. I'll click on this and click OK, and now I'm in this new drawing. I can choose my layers. My print settings are already here. Choose my textiles. I've actually got a number of blocks I can insert, windows and doors and so forth. So being able to start that next drawing with a template is just a huge, huge, huge time saver. And it kind of guarantees your drawings look the same from session to session, from project to project. All right, that is my last topic. Templates is the last topic. The last 4 pages are 8 pages, 4 pages. 4 pages are notes. Questions on anything, questions at all? Let me see if I can get into this. I'm going to open this up. There we go. Okay. All right, Terrence. I'm going to do this. I'm going to paste a number in the chat window, and you can copy it. I think in the materials area there is instructions for creating an Autodesk profile account. This profile account allows you to do a like an evaluation of the class. You say, oh, the class was great, or the class was not great, however you feel. Go-to training was amazing. Go-to training was clunky. The curriculum was too hard. Whatever. You can critique the class and stuff. And there's a place where you can get a certificate of completion if you just check the box that says email me my certificate of completion. One of the things you'll be asked for when doing this this eval will be a course ID. I'm going to send it out right now. I just sent it. AM 00709567267. And they don't roll off the top of your tongue, I'll tell you that, but that'll be sort of the password you'll use that allows you to critique this class and not somebody else's class. Awesome. So don't forget, I know I've talked a lot and you've listened, you guys listened great. Don't forget my email address and my phone number and my name, Daron Moore, are on the cover of the book. If you have questions tomorrow or next, whenever, however long, if you have questions, just reach out to me. Or if you're like, hey, send me that drawing you worked on or whatever, I'd love to help you out. Because I know it's a pretty fast-paced class. Terrence, I hope you get that software installed soon so you can practice it. I've still got some work to do on uploading these videos. They're a little bit slow to produce, but once they're there, probably before midday tomorrow or before the end of lunch hour tomorrow, I'll have 2 days, 4 sessions, 8 videos up there on YouTube, so you can come and watch those whenever. All right, guys? Questions on anything? So the survey, Terrence, is if you open up the materials, there's instructions for creating an Autodesk account. Can I open this? I don't want to save it, but you'll see instructions for for creating an Autodesk account. The eval is with Autodesk. They're the company that gives us the that they license us, or they allow us to. Okay, and so if you see that eval, and Nikisha may have emailed it to you, but you just log on. If you haven't already created a profile, you can create one, just like your name and your email address. Whoops, sorry about that. And then fill out your eval. Okay. Are you able to download that PDF? Where is it? That one that says instructions for creating an Autodesk profile PDF. Like, again, I don't want to download it because I've already got it, but that will give you the instructions there. And oh, that makes sense. I mean, that makes sense, Terrence, because usually I think Nikisha would send out, here, fill out this, create your profile, and that way. And this is kind of how Autodesk gauges us as our fitness to teach. If we're crap, they want to know. If we're great, they want to know that too. So, so awesome. Let me know if you can't find it. I'll make sure we send it to you again. I'll send you the course ID again. Whatever you need. We'll make this an easy process for you. Try to anyway. So thanks, guys. I hope it was good. I hope it wasn't too draining. Listen to me drone on for however many hours it was. And don't forget, you can reach out to me whenever you need to. Good. Hey, Terrence, I'd love to have you in more classes, whether it be online or whatever. We definitely, and thank you, Matt. Great having you both. And we offer, basically every class we offer in the classroom, we offer online. So, send me an email if you want. Hey, when's your next this class coming up, or what classes do you have coming up, and I'll let you know. Thanks, guys. You're awesome. Have a great rest of the week. I'm going to stop the video.